Hello, this is Centurion Love. My name is Kathy Tripp, and this is the ninth edition to God Did It. My boss owned this yellow retriever, golden retriever, and Rocky was a very sweet dog. They had had him since their first child was, I believe, between 7 and 8 years old. And so when they moved to a new house and to a new county here in Mississippi. They moved from Jackson to Ridgeland, Mississippi. And Rocky wasn't, he was getting of age. But I never looked at that because he was such a sweet, energetic boy. He barked all the time when he wanted to keep his home safe, their home safe, my boss's home safe. He was an outside dog, and he loved to have, I guess like you can call them meetings with the deer, because he would sit down while the deer would eat around him in the yard, and he would just relax, and watch them eat. He he got at them at first, but he realized that they weren't there to harm him or his family, and so he just let them come and eat. Okay, Rocky became ill in, I'm gonna say, in probably around October 2021. As 2022 came in, his health was failing. His hair was falling out. He didn't have use of his back legs, and my boss was so sweet to him. His owner, he was so sweet to him because his back legs had stopped working. He had a harness that he had bought him from the pet store, and he would help tote him out to use the potty whenever he had to go. But other than that, Rocky was pulling himself with his front two legs to his water bowl or to his food bowl. And my boss kept a close eye on him. He took him to the vet, and they gave him different meds, and he still wasn't recovering. He wasn't improving. And so around January, um, God told me, he said, look, why don't you pray for him? Why don't you pray for him? And I said, okay, God, because it was really hurtful to see him, um, sick like that. It just really was. And I wanted his health to improve, not only for himself, but for my boss, because he loved him so much. And for me too, and the kids, and his wife, we all loved Rocky. And around January, God told me to pray for him, and I did. And I don't heal anyone. I just pray, and God answers the prayer. He does the rest. I don't. That's my job, is to pray and to believe, and God does the rest. I leave the rest up to Him. And I caught myself like a day, probably like 2 or 3 days after that. I was like watching to look and see, was a miracle going to occur. And God was just looking. He was like telling me, He said, I don't need you to watch my work. Go do your work that you're supposed to be doing in the house. And while you're doing that and believing me, I'm going to do the rest. And he did. Rocky's hair grew back. He began to stand on all four of his legs and go and use it by himself. He began to run and jump and play again, guarding the yard again. It was just amazing because a week or so before that, my boss was contemplating having him put down, but he didn't have the heart to, because he loved him so much. And if he was going to die, he wanted him to just die naturally. But Rocky began to run again and jump and play and love on us, and everything was it was great again. Everything was going great. And so I said, thank you, God. And the dog is as if the dog knew that I had prayed for him, because he received it just like a person would receive their healing. He was like, okay, I'm going to get better, because, I know God's going to do it. It's as if he knew, what had happened, that I had prayed for him and he had received his healing. The animal received his healing, for himself. And so from God. And so he was eating well and everything. And probably around, this is September. So around May, he started to deteriorate again, and his health went down. And I was saddened because, God had had performed this miracle for him. And here he was, dying. And I was, sad about it, but just to know that God gave him those months and months of those extra months of life, he was happy. I even have pictures on the day that he died. I asked him to walk for me. I asked him to eat for me, and he did those things. He probably knew that he was dying. He got up and he went to his food bowl and he drank water and he ate and he walked around for me. And so when I left that evening, I said, well, God's going to maybe push him even more, even longer, give him even more time. But when I got home that evening, my boss told me that he had passed. 1 or 2 hours after I left, and I was saddened, but it was an honor to have him as a loving pet. He wasn't mine, but he was my boss.